He's declared for the draft officially, Max. It's all going to go down in June. Let me ask you this. Is he already a generational player?
Yep. Yes, he is. And I'll tell you how I come to that conclusion.
Okay.
Not just what my eyeballs tell me, which is like, oh, my God. I think people are getting too caught up in the comps to Zion in terms of who does he remind you of?
Yeah.
So he reminds people of a version of Charles Barkley or maybe a more athletic somewhat version like Chris Webber or maybe I've said Blake Griffin, but bigger and stronger and maybe a little more emphatic even than Blake. And so that puts you at a certain level. But I'm going to do comps in a different way. I'm going to talk about the wisdom of crowds here. Like when people all have a certain reaction to a guy, what they wind up as. Stephen A., who was the most heavily hyped basketball player ever out of college? Most heavily hyped ever was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That was the guy people were like, oh, my God. And how did Kareem wind up? Who was the most heavily hyped player ever to jump from high school? LeBron James. How did LeBron end up? Those are the two guys vying for second place behind Jordan. Who has been the most heavily hyped ever one and done? The answer is Zion Williamson. And he would replace maybe Anthony Davis. I mean, more hyped than Carmelo Anthony or someone like that. How did Anthony Davis turn out?
Yeah.
When you start thinking about it like that, I'll give you some other guys, not even hyped this much, but also very hyped. Patrick Ewing, because he was the top pick in the first ever draft lottery. How did Patrick Ewing turn out? Shaquille O'Neal, because people recognized, well, you know, he's not the kind of college player maybe that Christian Laettner was, but he's going to be a transformational pro. How did Shaq turn out? Here's another guy who jumped straight from high school with a lot of hype.
I have to interrupt you. Today's Kareem's birthday.
Happy birthday, Kareem.
Happy birthday.
Had the greatest overall career in history when you count amateur and pro. Point is, another guy heavily hyped out of high school straight to the pros, Moses Malone, multiple-time MVP and a champion. When you talk about the level of hype that is now attached to Zion Williamson. In other words, we have all looked and come to the conclusion, oh, my God, that player never winds up less than a multiple-time All-Star, usually winds up a multiple-time MVP and one of the best players of all time.
What about Greg Oden?
Not nearly hyped like that. Not nearly hyped like the rest of those guys.
There was some hype.
But there's hype every year about a guy. I'm talking about the most hyped ever. Out of college was Kareem. Out of high school is LeBron. One and done is Zion. Zion is, his floor is MVP, or at least, you know, all-star every year of his career. That's his floor.
Zion Williamson is a generational talent. Player remains to be seen. I'm very, very big on resumes. Sorry to be redundant. You have to prove it. He's not ambidextrous. He doesn't use his right hand nearly enough. Not as bad as R.J. Barrett in that regard. And when you go to the NBA, you will be playing men. Now, obviously, he's already 280 pounds, okay?
Who are these men?
Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's 280 pounds. And so chances are, you know, he's going to be that generational kind of player. But I'm not ready to ordain him as that as of yet. You've got people that think that he's going to be an all-star immediately. Maybe if you're talking about the fans voting, I don't know if his game is going to materialize into him being an immediate all-star. I love everything that I've seen from Zion. He was clearly a man amongst boys playing against collegiate competition. But a lot of times in the NBA, you see a lot of European players. One of the reasons why a guy like Luka Doncic, for example, is so extraordinary is because this brother was balling from the time he was 15, 16 and had been playing against grown men in the European League before transitioning to the NBA. Zion Williamson has been playing against boys. He's about to go up against men who are going to be a little bit differently, or it's going to be a bit more difficult to just push them around. You're going to go up against coaches who ain't just recruiting you and then you're out on the court and they got guys going against them and they ain't teaching them basketball. This is the NBA where you got an elevated level of basketball acumen and they're game planning against you. Do I think that Zion Williamson is going to be a scrub? Hell no. Do I think that he's going to be a future star in this league? Yes. But I am not ready to sit up there and just say, off the bat, coming straight into the NBA, this is who you're going to be. So next year, when I'm looking at you, I think we're going to be talking about him the way we've been talking about Luka Doncic, the way we've been talking about Trae Young and the guys like that. But when and I'm not saying you've done this, Max, when you got people out there that are talking about Zion like he's going to be a candidate for MVP, like he's going to be LeBron James immediately. Excuse me. Let's pump the brakes and let's see what he has on the next level. I have no doubt, because remember, that's not a jump shot. That's a set shot. Let's see what he's going to do on the next level. Do I believe it's going to happen? Yes. Do I want the Knicks to get him? Hell yeah. Would I mind seeing him with LeBron? Absolutely not. But I still want to see it. I'm not one of those guys that's just going to give it to you just because you're in college. I want to see the level of competition you go against.
You understand what I've just done? No one even real. I've totally revolutionized the way you can view a player. I'm not saying that you're looking for comps, players who play like him or remind you of him. I'm saying use the wisdom of crowds as your guide. It would be a first, and maybe there will be a first time, where everyone is this excited about a guy and he busts. It has not happened yet. There's never been this level of hype about a guy who didn't turn out to be a great player.
Well,
unless it ended in tragedy.
He didn't say he's not going to be a great player.
The point that you're missing is that I didn't debate that. That's why I didn't need to bring it up. I'm not like you. I don't need to bring up
Molly,
something
can you
that I
pat me on the back?
That's right, pat him on the back. I don't need to bring up that point that I didn't disagree with. I actually agree with your point there. That's why I didn't bring it up. I brought up the points that I necessarily don't agree with.
He's not agreeing that he's going to be a Kareem, LeBron-type player right off the bat. That's what he's saying. He knows he's going to be a star.
Revolutionize sports analysis.
Oh, my God.
No,
relax.
you're trying to. It's not working, but I appreciate the effort.
All right.
I do.